Hi, it's Mike with AskTractorMike.com. Well, I got a press release earlier this month that I'm going to put up on the screen that says Deere and Company reaches settlement in repair services antitrust litigation. And what we're talking about here is the right to repair uh, situation that's been going on for a long time. And I have with me today a guy that's an expert on this. His name is Willie Cade. And give you a little bit of Willie's background, and Willie, you can fill in if you want to here. Your granddad was a big executive at John Deere and Company back years and years ago, had a lot of patents. I think he was on the board of directors, if I remember right. And then your dad was with International Harvester, so you come from a mixed background of color loyalty. And then, if I remember right, we've talked one other time before. You've kind of spent a career crusading against people that build stuff that can't be repaired, kind of built-in obsolescence, so to speak, or built-in got to have somebody I pay to come out and work on it. And you've been fighting this John Deere litigation with the right to repair thing. And give us just a quick background of what's at stake here and why you've been fighting this. And I'll let you run.
All right, great. So just to fill in a little on my background, my grandfather was chief engineer for John Deere in 1925 when they decided to sell tractors commercially. Prior to that, he had helped develop tractors for John Deere, and he retired with 138 patents, 158 patents. And yeah, I've been involved in agricultural right to repair for the last 9 years. I worked with the law firms um, who sued John Deere. I advised the FTC on the case, and so I've got a lot of detail on this one. But let's start talking about the settlement and what does it mean. And I think the first question that all of your listeners are going to say is this a win or is this a loss? Right now, I categorize it as a loss. It would be just a check that John Deere, by the way, they've already written the check and given it to the lawyers, hoping that it'll just go through, right? Nobody will notice, right? Um, but the real substance of what we're trying to accomplish in this lawsuit, is injunctive relief. In other words, changing the way the game is played. And the way I read it right now isn't going to happen. It's just going to be John Deere doing John Deere as they always have, or they have in the last 10 years, and not really respecting their customers, um, and really, saying, hey, listen, yeah, you may have paid $1.2 million for that combine, but we need more money. So could you pay us even more? Let me first point to my little sticker on here. It says 79 cents. Um, and what that means is John Deere is proposing with this settlement to give the more than 200,000 farmers who would qualify for a claim, it give them 79 cents for the 8 years of, I'll call it trouble to be polite, uh, um, that per acre that farmers have been subject to because of they can't really repair all of their equipment. Now, when I say repair, I mean fully repair. Yes, you can replace parts, you can turn wrenches and those kind of things, but you're going to need a dealer. If it's got a chip in it, if it's got some electronics in it, you're going to have to call out the dealer. Now, by the way, I think the dealers are great. I love the dealers. They're useful. They have great information. And it's not the dealers who are driving this economic situation. It's John Deere. And the dealers really have no choice. They have to follow the lead, or the demands, if you will, of John Deere.
Let me back up just a little bit. If we go to the start of what led to right to repair, um, I'll give you what I know. As tractors got more and more advanced and had more and more electronic data collection centers on them. There was a period in time, and I was in the dealership world when this happened, when you started to be able to get diagnostic information on a laptop, which is a great thing, I think, rather than having a technician that started replacing different parts till they figured out what was wrong. You could plug a laptop in, and at least the parts of the tractor that had sensors, you could tell if there was a failure somewhere. The problem with that is, how can the average customer who doesn't have the software to put on his laptop to diagnose it, how does he work on it? Because a lot of people like to work on it. And the real problem can be that if you're in harvest and you have to take your machine back to a dealer to get it fixed, and they're backed up 3 weeks, you have nowhere to go. So is that a fair assumption? And kind of give us a little bit about the background of what led to this litigation.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right. I like the way you described it. It's the electronic controls as opposed to the physical controls of the devices. Used to be all hydraulics, now it's all electronics. And even the hydraulics are controlled by the electronics, right? So you're absolutely right. You need the software tool. It's like telling somebody, here, take that header off, but not giving them a ratchet to do it, right? You got to have the tool. And in this case, it's a software tool. I was down in Oklahoma last month, and the dealer was kind enough to demonstrate both the farmer version of the software and the dealer version of the software. And it was on the tractor. We used the same laptop, the same connection, the same tractor. When we brought up the consumer side of the software, there were no PIPs or product improvement programs listed for that particular device. It was a 6R 155. Um, when we switched the software to the dealer version, all of a sudden 3 PIPs came up. And that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. John Deere will say, "Oh, well, you have access to the software. You can buy it. It's not the same." It's kind of like when you download a free version of the software, but you really want the full capability, you got to buy a subscription. Well, with John Deere, have to buy a subscription and you don't get the full functionality.
So when all this started, John Deere owned the software and they refused to sell it. And that, am I correct, is what led to the litigation? And when did this all start?
In 2012, the state of Massachusetts passed auto right to repair, because this happens in automobiles too. And all the auto dealers got together and go, "Oh, we don't want state by state legislation. We'll make an agreement that we'll provide you the tools." And today you can go and get an OBD2 reader and you can read error codes and you can get, your manuals out and you can start to fix things. Okay. And it works pretty well. This is exactly the same thing, except in agriculture, and especially with John Deere, they have withheld the tools in order to do it. In 2022, 16 different lawsuits were filed against John Deere by farmers all over the country. Um, and it all got combined into one case. And this settlement that we're talking about, the proposed settlement by John Deere and the plaintiffs' attorneys, was submitted last week. There is a real problem here, period. And John Deere isn't spending nearly $100 million because there's no problem.
So, just to play devil's advocate for just a minute, um, I was in the dealership world for a while when all that electronic stuff was happening and the laptop software stuff was coming. We had to send our technicians to school for days to learn how to hook it up and read what it was saying. It wasn't something that was real intuitive. So I can argue, and feel free to argue back because I know you will, that if John Deere puts that software out there and it gets in the hands of somebody that has no training, that could end in a disaster that's going to involve the dealer coming out, voided warranties, mad customers, and everything. How do you respond to that?
Okay, you were doing fine until the very end when you talked about voided warranties, etc. But let's start with this. When my grandfather introduced tractors on the farm in 1925, manufactured by John Deere, I guarantee you only but 0.01% of the people knew what a compression ratio was, right? Farmers are smart. I mean, come on, you're asking a guy to write a $1.2 million check and you think he's some dumb no. So they'll learn. Now, in terms of yes, dealer technicians have to go to school and learn about a lot of equipment, but as a farmer, you maybe have three, four, five pieces of equipment. You know your equipment. You're sitting in it hour after hour. You hear it. You know when the problems are. And you can use those electronic tools as aids to solving a problem. In terms of void warranties, absolutely not. That's a false piece. People can work on their own stuff, others can work on their own stuff as long as they don't cause further damage, then they're not voiding the warranty. It's their machines, they should have a choice. If they want to go to the dealer, great. I'm sure they got great relationships with their dealer. If they want to do it themselves, great. They got skills. And you could hire an independent. Fundamentally, what we need is competition in the repair market. We need competition in all kinds of market in agriculture, but this issue on right to repair is all about being able to make a choice and having competition on repairing your equipment.
As the settlement, uh, Deere's, am I right, writing out a check for $99 million, and kind of break that down into, I know a lot of that goes to attorneys. You kind of alluded to it earlier. The farmer doesn't get all of that money. Part of it goes to attorneys and so on. Break it down for us.
Basically, it's $99 million. $20 million or so will go to the lawyers and the cost of the administration to send the money out. So that leaves about $79 million. There's about 200,000 people, maybe more, that will be eligible to file a claim. And if you take a conservative average of 500 acres per farm, which is the national average, but it's awfully conservative given the equipment, that would mean 100 million acres. So 100 million acres divided by $79 million is 79 cents an acre for the 8 years that you put up with this with John Deere. And they think that that's sufficient. That's why I'm wearing this little tag here that says 79 cents.
Okay, what's next? Will there be an appeal, or is this the end?
No, the judge needs to have a preliminary hearing on the fairness. And then there's going to be public hearing on the fairness of it. Um, I I can't imagine it's not going to get modified and modified significantly. I'd read through it. Uh, for example, one of the things, and I want to ask all your listeners to do this themselves. Go look at an invoice that you have from a John Deere dealer, and I challenge anyone unless they got an extended bill. Anyone on the regular bill to find the place where it lists the number of hours that a technician spent on repairing your equipment. But oddly enough, the settlement is based on how many hours over those 8 years technicians have worked on your equipment. And so whatever the number of people that apply, let's say it's only 50,000 of the 200. So let's say the 50,000 people had 5 million hours of repair time. So you would get 50,000 divided by 5 million times the 79 million. That turns out to be 79 cents per acre. You may, on an average farm, you may get $395.
Wow. So, if somebody wanted more information about this issue, should they get in touch with an organization or get in touch with you? What should they do?
First thing to do is your state, the farm unions in state, Nebraska, Iowa, Oklahoma, North Dakota, South Dakota. They're on the front lines in your state. So reach out to them. I know there may be a lot of listeners out there that go, oh, farm union, they're too liberal and all. No, they're the ones who are actually representing you, the farmer, in this. Farm Bureau has made an agreement with John Deere to say, oh, no, it's okay. You can do whatever you want, kind of thing. So reach out to there. And if you've got real specific stuff, I'm please put my email, my phone number on there. I'm happy to talk to people day in and day out. I get great stories from people. It helps me understand the issue. And when I'm standing in front of a senator or a representative, I can use your stories. I can speak for you. By the way, a lot of people don't want to speak out publicly because they don't want their dealers to go, oh, yeah, you're the guy who's promoting right to repair. See you in a week or two.
I hear you. Well, Willie, I want to thank you for taking time to talk about this issue, and I'm sure farmers appreciate all you're doing to try to get them the ability to work on their own equipment. And I appreciate all of you watching my videos. I would be honored if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you could do that by clicking the mic face icon, and make sure you check the bell so you get notified when I post future videos. Here's a link to my website and the Tractor Fund Store with cool things for sale for the tractor owner. It helps support my channel. Here's another couple of videos you might want to watch. Thanks for watching.